A close ally of Jeremy Corbyn has been recorded claiming Jewish, quotes, Trump fanatics are behind recent claims of anti-Semitism which are dogging the party. The comments by the member of the National Executive Committee, Peter Willsman, were recorded at a meeting of the party's ruling body 2 weeks ago.
They can falsify social media very easily. And some of these people in the Jewish community support Trump. They're Trump fanatics and all the rest of it. So I am not going to be lectured to by Trump fanatics making up daft information without any evidence at all. So I think we should ask the 70 rabbis, where is your evidence of severe and widespread anti-Semitism in this party?
Well, in a tweet, Labour's Deputy Leader Tom Watson said, "For the avoidance of doubt, Peter Willsman is and always has been a loud-mouthed bully. He disgusts me." Well, the Labour MP, Luciana Berger, has called Peter Willsman's comments sickening, and she's with me now. Welcome to you.
Good morning, Adam.
First of all, let's just answer his question there, shouted at the NEC. Where's the evidence of the anti-Semitism in the Labour Party?
Well, just in the past week alone, the party have said that they're looking at 252 individuals who have made comments about Dame Margaret Hodge in the wake of the disciplinary action that the party is taking against her. We've also seen 2 councillors in the past week suspended for the comments, the anti-Semitic comments they've made online, and that's just in the past week alone. We know that there's been a number of high-profile cases, and we know that there are still hundreds of cases outstanding that the party are yet to investigate.
Now, given those are facts, what do you think about Peter Willsman, who's a member of the National Executive Committee, making that sort of comment?
Well, I think anyone listening to that will be appalled, as was I when I heard that audio. The comments had already been reported, but not in the full piece that we've just heard now, that audio recording. And hearing it as we have just done, that those comments were made in the presence of a number of other members of the National Executive Committee just 2 weeks ago, in the wake of all the furore going on about anti-Semitism. I mean, it just, as I've said already, it does beg a belief, and the question has to be asked. This was said in the presence of the leader of the Labour Party. Where is the action? If you replace the words Jewish or rabbis for any other community, it wouldn't be acceptable. And the question I posed online last night, and I stand by, is why is it acceptable to treat the Jewish community in this way?
And he's also standing for re-election.
Indeed, he's in a group of people that are being elected, and people continue to support him today, although there has been, as I've seen online, some people saying in the wake of this recording being made public that actually he shouldn't be on the ballot for re-election. And I've said that he should be properly investigated. That investigation has been concluded, but again, in the wake of the evidence that we now have, he should be looked into.
Well, it seems odd he's being investigated or not being investigated when we've got Margaret Hodge and Ian Austin being threatened with investigation.
Indeed, there's a very stark contrast there. My colleagues have spoken out about anti-Semitism and get castigated for it, and Mr. Willsman makes those comments and he just gets a slap on the wrist and says if he does it again then he'll face disciplinary action. I don't think that's good enough. You've
spoken up about this, and after what's happened to you online and in person and elsewhere, have you come under pressure from the party? Have they ever threatened you with discipline for bringing the party into ill repute?
No, I haven't faced that yet, and I hope that I won't face it, but I've certainly faced a torrent of abuse for speaking out about it. And I think, if the party's serious about being in government, we can't in any way, shape or form be construed as racist, which is exactly what's happening at this moment in time.
Why do you think that the Jeremy Corbyn-led Labour Party is making such an issue of this? After all, many other bodies, national and international, have found it perfectly acceptable to accept in full the definition of anti-Semitism as commonly accepted. Why is the Labour Party holding out on this?
I mean, that's the question you have to ask the leadership. I can't answer on their behalf. All I can do is speak up against it and say that it's not good.
I mean, you must have an idea.
Well, I mean, there's many theories being put forward about why it is, but all I know is that one of the reasons why I joined the Labour Party is that you see it on our membership card. We are the party that's supposed to stand for equality and anti-racism, and that's not being played out at the moment.
It is being suggested, for example, that if Labour were to accept the full definition and the examples of anti-Semitism, that the hostility expressed by Mr. Corbyn and by Seamus Milne and others would make them anti-Semitic by that definition.
Well, I mean, there's a whole litany of things
against Israel. I mean, and obviously you couldn't expect the Labour Party to adopt rules which would make its leader seem anti-Semitic, could you?
There's a whole litany of things that people have said in the past. The point about this is what we do going forward and how we fix what's going on within the Labour Party and all those examples that are currently being investigated. And that's the action that I and many, many others right across the party want to see, from my colleagues in the Parliamentary Labour Party to grassroots members.
But there is an issue on the left within Labour about Israel, isn't there?
That's one element of it, indeed, but it's not the only issue. You know, one element of modern day 21st century anti-Semitism is about how in too many cases the entire British Jewish community gets the association between what happens in the Middle East is laid at the British Jewish community's door. For example, you know, I'm accused of being loyal to Israel rather than loyal to my own country. I'm accused of being a traitor. I'm accused of being in the pay of a foreign government, in Israel's government. So that certainly is one of the manifestations of 21st century anti-Semitism. It isn't the only manifestation of 21st century anti-Semitism, and some of it's got nothing to do with Israel at all. And we only have to look at what happened with the mural to see an evidence of that in point.
The British Board of Deputies have just said that Mr Willsman should be expelled from the Labour Party. Do you agree?
Well, I certainly think that there should be a formal investigation, and I don't think it's adequate that the investigation's been closed now that we have a recording of exactly what happened in that meeting.
Finally, how safe do you feel as a Labour MP? Do you feel either that you'll be forced to leave the Labour Party or that you might be forced out?
Well, all I can do is be true to the values that made me join the Labour Party in the first place, and that's standing up for equality for all and standing up against racism. And if there are elements of the party that don't think that's right, then that's certainly not the Labour Party that I and hundreds, if not thousands and hundreds of thousands of other people join. So that's what I will continue to do. And if that becomes, if that becomes an issue that the Labour Party no longer stands for, then that will result in serious consequences.
Luciana Berger, thank you very much indeed for joining us.